You know, one of the great things in life are the relationships. And I won't tell you how far back we go, but that's the relationships that are so precious. I want to thank you for being here for our Strategic Perspectives Conference. As you'll quickly pick up, if you don't really know the background, it's really a result of partnerships. Our partnership with KBRT, that they encouraged us to be partners to do this down here in this area. It's a replica of sorts of what we do once a year in Coeur d'Alene for the Institute, but this really is a result of a partnership between ourselves, Paul McGuire, the KBRT people, and also taking advantage of an old relationship with Jack Hibbs, because what you may not know is he was so instrumental in us getting started when we first moved up to Idaho. So this whole project is one of relationships, and it's very, very special. So it's my privilege now to introduce another of these, not just a speaker at a conference, but a partnership. There's a guy that you may know the name of, but you may not realize his contribution to America, because he turned the entire publishing industry on its ear. And if you have not read the book, Stop the Presses, you have only a small glimpse. If you haven't read that book, you've only had a small glimpse of the personality that's about to come up here. Because one of the incredible heroes of our culture, of our time, is a guy that totally revolutionized media. The mainline media had a stranglehold on the American population until the emergence of this project that was his lifetime dream. And so, and its impact is staggering. Of course, most of you realize that I'm talking about WorldNet Daily. And if you haven't discovered WorldNet Daily as a source of news, you're in for a pleasant surprise. But it's a great, great privilege. And give a warm welcome to my friend, Joseph Farah.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I got it on. Okay, space bar. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, Chuck. It's first of all, before I thank Chuck, let me explain to you that I did wear a jacket here, just in case my wife is watching the tape. I want it to be very clear. She doesn't approve of me not wearing a jacket, but I was not quite prepared for the heat here. In Virginia this season, it has not yet risen above 75 degrees, and so it was like walking into an oven. But I feel good outside of that jacket. I just want to say how gratified I am to have been included in this special event. Chuck Missler is such a blessing to me personally, to my family. I'm honored that he would feel I have something worthwhile sharing with you tonight. And, you know, I love coming to KI events because I get to say things that just might not be understood in any other forum. And today, I'm going to try to tie some loose ends together for you so that you can hopefully better understand what is happening in our world today and how we can be more effective in winning this world over to Jesus. I'm going to start with a very familiar scriptural reference, the Tower of Babel story. Does the name Nimrod mean anything? When I was a kid, Nimrod was one of those names of derision. That guy's a Nimrod, we'd say. I had no idea what that was supposed to mean, but I know it wasn't anything good. But I can tell you there are a lot of Nimrods around today. And let me see here. That is not Nimrod, however. Okay, there we go. Nimrod was one of Noah's great-grandsons, and he was in rebellion against the God of the universe. It didn't take long after the worldwide flood for rebellion to begin again. Nimrod was the arch-rebel and a very important biblical figure for us to understand today. Even his name means to rebel. Now, we first learn about him in Genesis 10:8. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Nimrod was the leader of the rebellion that prompted the building of the Tower of Babel. Now, standing hundreds of feet high, the tower was built so that Nimrod and his priests could worship the sun, the moon, and the stars. Now, what happens when you worship the sun, the moon, and the stars instead of the one true God of the universe? Well, you open yourself up to the deception of the power of the air, Satan and his demons. And I think that's exactly what happened to Nimrod. In effect, Nimrod and his wife Semiramis followed the same path as Adam and Eve, believing Lucifer that they could become gods or like gods themselves, that the one true God that Nimrod's great-grandfather Noah worshipped was somehow withholding the key to truth from them. Now, before too long, Nimrod and Semiramis were requiring their subjects to worship them. Now, why is this important? Well, there are several reasons, which I will get to. But for starters, this was the beginning of all false pagan religion systems that have followed and are still with us today. Is that a double exposure up there? Okay, there we go. God saw how successful the Nimrod perversion had become. So it was at that time, we read in Genesis 11, that he confused the one common language of the human race. The word Babel, as we know, actually means confusion. Now, we know more about Nimrod and Semiramis than the Bible alone reveals. Babylonian history shows us this couple gave themselves other god names, some of which will be very familiar to you. Kronos, Baal. Nimrod became known as Kronos, Baal. His most significant god title from the Persian language was Zoroaster, which means woman's promised seed. And there's still a lot of Zoroastrians practicing their religion today in Iran, throughout the Persian Gulf. In fact, the late Shah of Iran, for instance, was very fond of Zoroastrianism rather than Islam. I was told personally by the Shah's son, Reza Pahlavi, that he is a follower of Zoroastrianism. Anyway, because of this title, meaning woman's promised seed, Nimrod was in effect the God-man savior of the world, someone who would give his life for humanity, that he would crush the head of the serpent, the adversary. He would be the sacrifice for the sins of the people. Sound familiar? In other words, Nimrod was the first Antichrist figure in the world, and the one that still forms the basis for all the counterfeits we know today. After Nimrod's death, Semiramis elevated the worship of her husband as the sun god, asserting that he had ascended into heaven